Hey, this is Adam with the Productivity Academy. Today I'm going to be going over a little bit about minimizing and kind of focusing, and I'll explain why in a second. But real quick, if you want to subscribe, you can click on the button below. Also down in the description, you can find out a way to hop on the subscribers list to get some good stuff there. But anyways, like I said, today we're going to talk about minimizing stuff and kind of how this is important. So let's get started. So hopefully, well, you can't
Loud
see.
noises, which might be in the background and be distracting to people trying to focus.
So also focusing is really important, but that's not what today's video is about. So with that said, so I'm actually in the middle of moving. So I think this is kind of a good time to talk about this. I didn't actually have the plan today because I'm running out of time. So like there's a whole lot of productivity and time management things. I was like, man, I could talk about so many things today, but I think moving is a good one. I haven't talked about like kind of being minimal or minimizing, at least in the terms of like things so much. Generally, it's in terms of like, okay, if you've got a to-do list, you need to minimize what you have or at least prioritize so that you can then focus, or like I call it doing a triage, right? Like you're saying, okay, I've got 10 things. I just need to focus on the top one, knock it out, and go down to the next one, and everything else is irrelevant in terms of, if you don't get that most important thing done, then, why are you focusing on the rest? But with moving, this has actually been kind of handy. Okay, so hopefully, if you're watching this, maybe you've moved at some point. If you haven't, you can kind of pretend you're doing this. But it's a great time to go through all of your stuff, and physical clutter obviously affects us. I'm a believer of that. The more stuff you have around, if you have a disorganized space, I totally believe you can have organization and chaos. If you have a system that works for you, I don't care what it is. I mean, I use Post-it notes. It gets messy, but my system is at the end, the beginning of every day, I start out with like the same layout. So I go through and collect everything, put it into my systems. But then with moving, it allows me to kind of get rid of a lot of the extra stuff. Do I have literally things like an extra jar of pens or pencils that I don't need that's just sitting there, that I'm thinking about, oh, do I need to get rid of the extra books on my bookshelf back there, things like that. So I would say if you're not moving, or you haven't done it, or you're not going to be moving in the near future, it's kind of a good time. Take some time, maybe once a month. We do this, maybe not with our office setup, but go through and say, okay, do I really need, look around. Is there something I could get rid of or that somebody else could use? It's something I haven't touched in 6 months. Why is it that I have this? It can be really helpful. And then you could do the same thing as well for things like your own management in your office or your job. Go through and do this digitally. I find this helpful for like storage with places like Dropbox, where you start, you accumulate all these files, and it's great if you're using it for storage or backup, but it can get really cluttered, and you start going through and you're like, man, I know that file's in there. So sometimes just taking 5 or 10 minutes and going through and saying, okay, can I maybe have an archive folder where I put things that, man, I haven't touched or I don't think I'll ever need, but maybe I want to, save them for long-term storage. Or you just say, okay, this was for a project, it's done, it was, some intermediate step, and just delete it, and you don't have to worry about it, and it won't, take up space, or even more important, your mental space. So anyways, really do want to dive into this more sometime. I just thought this would be good since I'm literally in the moving, or in the process of moving today. And when I turn off the video, I'm going to be taking apart my computer and my desk and moving it to a new location. So again, if you like productivity, time management, and you like what you've seen, you can subscribe below. If you have any suggestions or comments or anything, please leave a note on the video and let me know, and I will definitely get back to you. Thanks.